I'm muted. Good. There we go. We are there. It's all right. Bit of a rush. I've been at the new house today. The new house is incoming. Don't you worry. This will be the last race stream inside of this stream setup. We're nearly there. We are almost there. But that is for the future. The Canadian Grand Prix is for now. I am so excited for this Canadian Grand Prix. I think it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. I can just already envisage some absolutely crazy overtakes, some dives up the inside going down in towards turn one, some battles up and down the grid. It just feels like everything is set up for this one to be absolutely electric. And I just have a good feeling about it. Canada delivers, doesn't it? Canada is always one of those weekends where it's like, there's something to play for here. A few of the teams turn up. A few of the teams have the ability to go on and take the victory. Like, I was not expecting George Russell to take pole position yesterday, came out of nowhere, did it, got the t-shirt once again, and George Russell absolutely flying once more. Hello, Soapbox. How are you doing? I will indeed give you a shout out. There we go. We are finally live fully. Everything is working. We had a slight technical glitch. Nothing too crazy. I think it's because I've sort of taken half of the setup to a completely different place. So we're missing a few bits and pieces here and there. But we are finally getting to the point where it is all sorted. We're all set. So excited for this race. Me too. Me too. I think this is set up to be the perfect Grand Prix. The absolute perfect Grand Prix. I should sub. This is why you should sub. Oh, I thought you meant sub to you. Was that sure? Give me a sub if you want. Depends what you make. Alonso 33, hopefully. I mean, he showed good pace. Showed good pace yesterday, did Fernando Alonso. Maybe not, race-winning pace. But never count him out. Never count out Fernando Alonso. The cards could always fall in his favour. Odds of max penalty today. I wouldn't like to say. I wouldn't like to guess. I think if he does manage to get himself a penalty, he is going to be told off pretty substantially by the Red Bull higher-ups. I cannot imagine they would be overly pleased with that. But you never know. Maybe a race off for Max Verstappen at this point in the season will reinvigorate him to come back with a little bit more, well, hopefully a little bit less, actually, gumption about him. But as I say, I think this is all set up to be a beautiful, beautiful Grand Prix in 20 minutes' time. Get your predictions in now. I want to know who you think is going to win. As I said, I think it's a little bit of a mix. Do you think it's a Mercedes? Do you think it's a Red Bull? Can a McLaren get up there? Maybe even a shock Ferrari victory? Who will be on the podium alongside that victor? And then your surprise package, your best team of the weekend. And of course, at the other end of the grid, your struggle and your flop. Martin Brundle running around like an absolute headless chicken. Did I change the track on the wall? I did not. It is Singapore. It will always be Singapore. Although I don't know if I'm going to have the track on the wall in the background of the new setup. I'll be honest. Don't know if there's going to be space to fit it into the background. We'll have to wait and see. Not going to say yes or no as of yet. They are taking the brake pads off Franco Colapinto's Alpine at the moment, which doesn't look amazing for the team in pink. But if you can't race, well, if you haven't got a brake disc on your tires, then you certainly can't race. All going to be fixed now. All going to be good, says the Alpine engineers. So chances of Russell surviving it, I think it's going to be George Russell that, is going to be putting the pressure on, surely, no? I feel like if there's a collision, it's more likely to be Russell's fault, just because I feel like Russell can kind of push it that little bit extra. Whereas Max, as much as we joke, Max will not want to miss a Grand Prix. Max will know that missing a Grand Prix will effectively take him completely out of this title battle. I know that is unlikely at the minute anyway. He is a fair chunk of points off Oscar Piastri, 186 to 137. But that's still doable. Max Verstappen misses out on a Grand Prix, especially a Grand Prix in Austria, where we know the McLaren car's pretty decent. Then, Oscar maybe gets another 25 points, Lando gets another 18. Then it is kind of season over for Max Verstappen, even if he does go on to win today, because that is just such a huge amount of points to try and grab throughout the second half of the year. So I think Max knows he can't really be putting himself in a position to actually miss a Grand Prix. But then Max has been in positions before where he shouldn't do stuff, and he has. So at the same time, I don't want to say is guaranteed that you won't. I think George Russell's an interesting factor. 111 points could actually be ahead of Max Verstappen in a couple of races' time if things go his way. He is going to be looking at Max Verstappen in third place and thinking he is in for a shot at getting third place at least. The two Ferraris behind, I was going to say feel a little bit too far adrift, but Leclerc isn't actually too far off the back of George Russell. I think because Russell had such a nightmare in Monaco, you've kind of got to take into a fact that basically George Russell missed a race. George Russell missed the Monaco Grand Prix weekend because he had a technical fault during qualifying, and it is all about qualifying. So he might as well have sat that race out. And 111 points, maybe not quite a reflection on how good he has been this season, really. Like, that Mercedes car just hasn't been there and able to deliver where he would have expected to. Lewis Hamilton then behind on 71 as well. 40 points off of his old teammate, not where he would have wanted to be, having made the switch, especially because we were all expecting the Ferrari to be very competitive this year, but just haven't quite played out like that. Hasn't quite gone into his favour as of yet, I would say, Lewis Hamilton, and therefore waiting on an opportunity to really pounce inside of that Ferrari car. Kimi Antonelli starting fourth today, 48 points though. Feels like seventh place is guaranteed to be his. You'd hope anyway, after an absolute nightmare triple header. Shouldn't really be within 6 points of Alex Albon, but Alex Albon's just been delivering ridiculous race after ridiculous race. Like, if Albon can get himself up into seventh in the championship, that would be utterly obscene. We'll have to wait and see, though. How do I feel about Stroll P1? Absolutely no chance, but there you are. We try. Hadjar behind on 21 points as well. Ocon 20. It's all very tight in that midfield pack, isn't it? Very, very tight indeed. And, well, I mean, we saw that in Q1 yesterday. Q1, so tight between all of the drivers. 0.8 of a second, splitting the entire grid. It was, hundreds, if not thousands of a second that was separating positions. We were a few tenths off it being just obscene. So, the national anthem of Canada performed by the Willingdon School Choir. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Hadjar's my rookie of the year so far. I mean, it's difficult to argue, isn't it? I think I started that. I started to possibly lean towards that, towards the Miami Grand Prix weekend. But then Kimi Antonelli managed to get a pole position. And I was like, well, okay, maybe he's kind of proved me wrong a little bit there. But having sort of since then, having gone back to it, I could kind of see that. Isaac Hatcher had a very, very good triple header, give or take. It really hasn't been an amazing triple header for Kimi Antonelli, although 2 of those weren't really his fault, you know. It wasn't his fault that his car literally came to a stop in Imola and in Spain. And then, okay, it was very much his fault in Monaco, but there you are. Why don't I read your message? I try, you know, I glance, I have a little look. Who do I think will be on the podium? Shall we have a little look? Shall we have a look at the grid? Because we haven't discussed it as of yet. Although, in fact, before we look at the grid, we should really have a little look at the Canadian Grand Prix setup. 70 laps, 305 kilometers. Oh, thank you, Vil, for becoming a member of the channel. Welcome, welcome. Appreciate that, mate. I thought you were a member before. Maybe you remember before, but you're not a member. I don't know. I forget. But we know that this is going to be not the worst track in the world on tyres. So we're not expecting it to be too much of a strategy / tyre race. But we do know there is an opportunity for overtaking. There's minimal downforce here because you are looking at a lot of long straights and then into hard braking zones. It's basically a track of just many different types of chicane, isn't it? In one way or another. Bortoletto is good. Bortoletto is very good. That is true. Maybe being a little bit harsh on Bortoletto. Gabriel Bortoletto could be in the mix for Rookie of the Year. I just think we haven't seen the flashes yet of like real pace. And yet to score points, Gabriel Bortoletto. So I know he's in a stakes Sauber car, but I think you have to get at least a couple of points on the board to really then find your feet in Formula One and start to then make moves forwards. So I'd lean off Gabriel Bortoletto being Rookie of the Season so far. But he is still very, very good. I'm not going to take anything away from that. Do you think Canada is a good track? Because I think it's underrated. It's one of my top 3. Absolutely one of my best or one of my favorite tracks on the calendar. I think Canada delivers good racing. It's always interesting when it comes to qualifying as well. It's a short enough circuit. The qualifying times are super, super tight. I think Josh made that point yesterday, you know, with it being a slightly shorter track and the lap times being very, very tight, we do end up with lap times where tenths of a second, hundredths of a second mean the difference between 3 or 4 spots on the grid. And I really like it. Canada GP looks really fun. I think it would be a great race to visit. It's definitely on the bucket list. If I was going to pick a few Grand Prix to go to, Canada would certainly be up there as a one that I would love to go to. It's one of those ones I really hope just doesn't get taken off of the calendar before I get the opportunity to explore a little bit more and go to a few more Grand Prix. But there we are. There's a lot of tracks that are being replaced and swapped around and changed, so it's not up to me which ones come and which ones go. And let's talk about qualifying then. Yesterday was so good, so tight between the teams. Felt like everything was on the line. Oh, my cameras. No, please don't do this to me, camera. Please don't do this to me. I know, it's okay. We're okay. Yeah, yesterday, qualifying was very, very competitive. A lot more competitive than maybe I was expecting it to be. Is that fair to say? I think maybe just wasn't expecting it to be... Oh, no, come on. There we go. Wasn't expecting it to be as intense. But I don't know why, because the year before, George Russell, Max Verstappen, absolutely neck and neck in terms of their times. I just thought McLaren would be a bit stronger. If I'm honest, I thought McLaren would be a little bit stronger than they were. And therefore, I thought it was going to be another qualifying where we were just looking at, okay, it's probably going to be Piastri or Norris for pole, and it's not going to be too much of an issue around it. But it was the track evolution as well really does play into qualifying here being really, really fun. because you want to be last out on track, but we know that there can be collisions. We know that there can be problems. We saw a red flag, for instance. I know it wasn't a collision with the barriers or anything like that, but we've seen a few drivers over the course of the weekend have their spills and spins into the barriers. I think it's just got a little bit of everything that it needs to have. What happened to Yuki? 10-place grid penalty for Yuki Tsunoda for overtaking under red flag conditions during free practice 3. So Yuki Tsunoda, yeah, overtook under red flag. It was a little bit of a harsh penalty, if I do say so myself, even as a sort of Yuki fan. I do think it was a harsh penalty. But then I suppose, red flag's a red flag. You've got to draw the line somewhere. Yuki Tsunoda said himself he thought it was safer for him to actually overtake than to stay behind a car that had damage and could possibly flick debris in his direction. But you can't overtake under red flag under any conditions, and that's kind of the thing, isn't it? Double or nothing first turn crash. I mean, it's been talked about a lot, which therefore makes me feel like it's unlikely. We always have these things where it's like last year it was when Max and Lando were side by side, and now with Max and Russell, we had it with Piastri and Max earlier on in the season as well. It just feels like there's a lot of the time there is this like, ooh, is there going to be a crash? Is there going to be this, that, or the other? Never generally is, but then I wouldn't mind being proven wrong. Making our way from the top to the bottom, though, even though we just had a little chat about Yuki Tsunoda down in 18. George Russell does start on pole position for the second year in a row, and Max Verstappen is beside him again for the second year in a row. That 1-2 locking itself out again. The Mercedes versus the Red Bull down in towards turn 1. But with the relationship between Russell and Max just fraying at the edges continually. Last year it wasn't amazing. Then they bump wheels again last time out in Spain after Max absolutely loses his head due to the tires under the safety car. It just feels like it's building to something, isn't it? We need a championship battle where it is Russell Verstappen, or at least a race. Well, maybe this is a race where the Russell versus Verstappen, both cars are actually in for the chance of winning the Grand Prix, and it's really, really tight between the two of them. I feel like that's just exactly what we need between these two. Something where it's super tight, and they can just get out their frustrations a little bit and really go to town on one another, because they just need to let off some steam, the both of them, don't they? They always seem to butt heads, and I think maybe it is because they are so different in terms of their personalities as well. Like George Russell is Mr. F1. If you could print the perfect F1 driver in terms of like media and in terms of the behind the scenes and in the terms of the way he interacts with fans and teams and everything else, it would be George Russell, right? He is sort of the poster boy for what a Formula One driver should act like and be like in terms of what Formula One, like the FIA, wants. But Max Verstappen is the complete opposite of that. He's a little bit of a bad boy, is Max. He doesn't play by the same rules as everyone else. He likes to push the boundaries. He knows where the limit is. He's almost sort of Schumacher Senna in his ability to just believe he is correct, whatever it may be. And I love that. I think the fact that both of those personalities can thrive in Formula One, the fact that we can have those two kind of styles of driver is excellent. I like Max. I like the way that Max is, to a point. I think there's limits, but I like the fact that he does have that little bit of an edge to him. He's not pristine and perfect in the way that George Russell is. And I think that like to and fro, that yin and yang of Russell and Verstappen is why we often see them come into a little bit of a head. And maybe it comes to a little bit of a head here once again. You never know. Oscar Piastri, our championship lead, starts from the third place, just behind. He'll be looking at the fact that Lando Norris is starting a little further back than he would have liked, and rubbing his hands together, wants to continue to build on that championship lead. It did come down a little bit after Norris got a couple of wins under his belt during the triple header, but now looking like Piastri is going to continue to build on that a little bit more as he goes. Kimi Antonelli, a stunning start. 4th place for him. If he can get a podium, that would be an amazing feat. His rookie season, he's got a pole position to his name. A podium would just be amazing. Maybe even a win from 4th place. Pretty tough to get ahead of those drivers, though. Russell, Verstappen, Piastri. It's going to be a very, very tight battle. I think Antonelli's owed something, though, right? He's had an absolute disaster triple header, as we mentioned before. 2 of those races, not really his fault that he ended up with no points from them. And I think Antonelli could be an outside shout here, just like to sneak into a podium place, especially if Russell and Verstappen decide to wipe each other out. Lewis Hamilton then started on 5th place. 6th place, Fernando Alonso. Has there ever been a grid where a row has had that much experience? Hamilton and Alonso side by side, 5th and 6th place, just 9 championships between them. It is an obscene amount of races that Hamilton and Alonso have had together. Of course, they were teammates back in Lewis Hamilton's rookie year. And by that point, Fernando Alonso was already a 2-time world champion. Like, the races that they have seen, I'm really hoping we get a lovely battle between those two. Lando Norris behind will be hoping that there isn't and that he can just saunter by fairly quickly. Lando Norris starting in 7th place. Charles Leclerc also pretty disappointed. He was talking about his tyres and the fact that Isaac Hadjar kind of got in the way of him a little bit during that middle sector on his final flying lap. Otherwise, Charles Leclerc said he had the pace to definitely be in and amongst that top 4. Well, top 3 with Russell, Verstappen, possibly Piastri being displaced by Charles Leclerc in one way or another. Alex Albon was actually a little bit disappointed with his qualifying. He starts in 9th place. Another couple of points on the board, though, for Alex Albon if he can finish there. Just once again consolidating his best of the rest position in the midfield. He has been ridiculous over the course of this year, Alex Albon. I do think we are seeing a brand new side of Alex Albon. Like, the pressure has been increased with Carlos Sainz coming in alongside him, and basically he has just taken that pressure and run with it, and it is absolutely amazing to see what Alex Albon has been able to do. Franco Colapinto, it was a tough 3 races to start his Alpine career. Not the 3 races you want, really, is it? Imola was an interesting track to try and bed into a new car, and then Monaco is the absolute worst way to really get into a brand new car, because you need confidence in Monaco. And are you going to have confidence in a car that you've never driven before? Probably not. And then Spain, again, maybe delivered, maybe expecting a little bit more in terms of delivery from Spain, but Franco Colapinto at least bouncing back in terms of qualifying yesterday, just outside of the top 10, but gets promoted into 10th place. Nico Hülkenberg starts in 11th as well. That Stake Sauber seems like a new demon. Obviously, Hülkenberg picking up a 5th place finish. A little bit, fortuitous maybe last time out in Spain to get that with the safety car at the end, but gotta put yourself in those positions and the luck comes to you. And Nico Hülkenberg said, thank you very much, I'll take the points and run away with it. Maybe some points on the cards for him again. Isaac Hadjar, though, dropping 3 places, a 3-place penalty for Hadjar for impeding Carlos Sainz in Q1. He drops down to 12th place after another Q3 appearance, again being the 2nd fastest Red Bull-powered car. And even with that 3-place penalty, well, I suppose Tsunoda dropped back down to 18th place as well. So it is difficult to say, but he is, as the list shows there, the 2nd fastest Red Bull on the grid. Ollie Behrman and Esteban Ocon start side by side in the Haas's 13th and 14th place. Gabriel Bortoleto in 15th, needing to get his first points on the board. Only Bortoleto and Colapinto with no points on the board so far this season as we go into round 10. Then Carlos Sainz in 16th spot, very frustrated inside of that Williams. Again, sort of seeing Alex Albon put in performance after performance and saying to himself, right, I need to start stepping up sometime soon. We've seen flashes of it from Carlos Sainz, but okay, he was impeded by Isaac Hadjar yesterday. He would have probably got a lot further in qualifying than he did. It's going to be a tough race from 16th place. Starts on the hard compound tyre, though, so maybe going for something. Lance Stroll starts 17th. Yuki Tsunoda, as we said, after that 10-place grid penalty, drops down to 18th. Lawson and Gasly down to 19th and 20th place, as we are almost about to get ready for the formation lap. Shall we move over to the race board? It is 2 o'clock in Montreal. It is 7 o'clock here in the UK. Some of you I know will be up at all hours of the night to watch the Canadian Grand Prix, and 70 laps are about to come your way. Ooh, what's gone on with the track map? Why is that not doing its thing? Let me reload it. Just while we get the formation lap going. Hopefully we'll get, there we go, some movement. It'll probably stutter a little while it just resets itself. Formations looking like formation lap strategies is the word I was looking for. Looking like it's going to be probably a 2-stop medium and hard compound tire combination. Problem they've got is a lot of those guys did decide to use a set of mediums yesterday for qualifying. The medium tire looked pretty decent in qualifying yesterday, actually. Just was able to find those areas of grip sometimes where the soft compound tire wasn't able to. Russell, Verstappen, Piastri, Antonelli all starting on the medium tire out front. Hamilton and Alonso the same. Interesting that Norris and Leclerc have zigged where everybody else has zagged. Then it's Albon, Colapinto, Hulkenberg, Hadjar, Behrman also on the medium tire. Ocon, Bortoletto, Sainz, Stroll, Tsunoda, Lawson, and Gasly all on the on the hard compound tire at the back. It is a school night. Yeah, I've got a 13-hour day tomorrow at work. Not looking forward to that, but we move on. We have to go forwards, and I cannot wait for this Grand Prix. So I'm just going to forget about tomorrow, because tonight is going to be bonanza. Thank you for joining the stream. If you are new here and you want to hit that subscribe button, that'd be absolutely amazing. We're going towards 130,000 subscribers. There will be more content coming to the channel very, very soon. Just been trying to get a house move sorted, but I got the keys. I was there today. I've painted some rooms. This desk will be moving there on Wednesday or Thursday. And then in a couple of weeks' time, we will be back for the Austrian Grand Prix and in a new location. So I don't miss it, you know. Oh. Here we go. Just waiting for the final few cars to make it around. Lance Stroll and Yuki Tsunoda slotting into the back of the pack. Lawson and Gasly both starting from the pit lane. Can't remember if I mentioned that before, but doesn't matter. We're focused on the front. 5 red lights. Here we go. George Russell down towards turn 1 against Max Verstappen. Piastri tries to come up the inside of the Red Bull as well. Kimi Antonelli has a little look at the McLaren. I think Kimi Antonelli's going to be able to get the better of Piastri here if he can get a good launch out of turn 3. Oh, why is the track map behind? Let's just do that. Russell still maintains the lead then. Verstappen has managed to gain it. Piastri has had to concede to Antonelli. Hamilton has got ahead of Alonso still. Norris and Leclerc still side by side in 7th and 8th place. Hulkenberg has had an absolutely electric start. Colapinto's been able to hold on to 10th place, but Albon has dropped a couple of positions. Oh, and there's a Williams that's gone wide. And it's Hadjar versus Albon, and I think Albon was sent over the grass. Oh my goodness me, and it's so tight in towards the hairpin as well. Cars side by side. Got Colapinto versus Hadjar. Hadjar desperate to get back into the top 10. Qualified in there yesterday. A 3-place penalty for him. Dropped him down the order though. Hulkenberg absolutely on a flyer though. Into 9th place. Colapinto and Hadjar side by side. Albon's trying to get amongst it as well. It is chaos towards the back end of the grid. But George Russell leads Verstappen second. Antonelli has gained a place. Piastri down 1. Hamilton, Alonso where they started. Norris and Leclerc also. Hülkenberg is up 2 spots. Hadjar is up 1. Albon has been the big loser, down 3 positions. And Yuki Tsunoda managed to get the better of Lance Stroll. Lawson and Gasly have now caught up to the back of the pack as well. DRS is indeed activated. Russell and Verstappen getting away a little bit here from Antonelli. Oh my goodness me, there is a lot of debris. Somebody gone over the grass again, possibly? Or no, I think there's just a lot of grass came up when Alex Albon was sent across it. DRS is, of course, enabled, helping Max Verstappen to close the gap on George Russell, but doesn't get it this time around. Kimi Antonelli also with DRS to Verstappen. Piastri doesn't look incredibly happy. He's dropped outside of DRS range of Kimi Antonelli, and Lewis Hamilton with DRS to the McLaren car. The McLaren dominance maybe not quite there this weekend. We know that Piastri was having pretty tough time of it throughout the free practice sessions, and Piastri not super comfortable inside of the McLaren car so far this weekend. Managed to get it together during qualifying. He said he was pretty happy with a 3rd place, but not quite clicking at the moment. Here we go. Oh my goodness me. Just bumping up my headphones a touch. Max Verstappen, quickest of anybody last time around, still has that DRS to George Russell. We're just waiting for an opportunity now, aren't we? We know that Verstappen is going to go for a move at some point. It's just when does he go for it? Verstappen still maintaining that DRS gap. Antonelli has fallen away a touch. As I say, it's starting to elongate a little bit. Antonelli 2 seconds adrift now. Piastri then 1.2 seconds also. Hamilton has dropped outside of the DRS range of the McLaren. And Verstappen just making sure that George Russell knows he is there, having a little look at the side of George Russell. Again, George Russell will be looking in his wing mirrors, knowing that Max Verstappen is there. Verstappen keeping him keen. And whether or not he goes early, we know that this first stint is going to be crucial, expecting a 2-stop race. But it's whether or not Max Verstappen wants the benefit of that clean air versus he's just trying to keep George Russell a little bit alive. Because going to be right under the dirty air of that rear wing for now is Max Verstappen, but it's another fastest lap nonetheless. And Piastri on the radio already saying that they're going to go for Plan B. Plan B for Oscar Piastri. Piastri, 4.5 seconds off the lead of this race already, has dropped a couple of seconds back from Kimi Antonelli in 3rd. Hamilton a second behind as well. As I say, Fernando Alonso inside DRS range, but then the rest of the top 10 just starting to elongate a touch. Isaac Hadjar is there as well. Setting up for one stop. Quite possibly, Piastri just realizing that maybe they can hold onto the tyres. Of course, we know that McLaren is able to hold onto its tyres a little bit better than the rest of the field. It's been the clear thing that they've been able to do over the course of the season so far, and it's been one of the things that the other teams have been asking about, really. I know that Red Bull had a few concerns about the brakes inside of that McLaren car, but all seemed well, just able to hold on to their tyres much better than the rest. But Verstappen is really putting the pressure on Russell, and you can see Antonelli falling away from the back. But it just feels like at this point, Antonelli holding onto his tyres a little better. These two just absolutely going for it. Doesn't feel like they are holding onto their tyres at all. Verstappen right under the rear wing of Russell continually. This lap, the first lap that Verstappen has dropped outside of DRS range of the race leader. Finally, George Russell can breathe a little bit better. Still not guaranteed, though, is it, for George Russell at this point? He knows that it's still a long way to go. George Russell closing in on another victory in Formula One. If he can remain in the lead, though. Did well at the beginning of the race, just escaped away from Verstappen really well. Verstappen went on the defensive, had Piastri and Antonelli both having a little look at the Red Bull, but in doing so, Piastri then also got on the outside, so Antonelli could duck up to the inside of turn 4. And that's where Kimi Antonelli was handed that third place spot. It was actually, I think, because of Verstappen that Piastri just kind of found himself in a little bit of a no man's land. Because Piastri couldn't quite look up the inside of Verstappen, but also was then forced around the outside. Antonelli did well to hold around turn 2. And that's when Antonelli pounced into the podium places. This would be Kimi Antonelli's first podium in Formula One if he can hold on to third place for now. And there was the move from Alex Albon. Had to take to the grass on the opening lap. Maneuvers, and that really did bobble around the Williams car of Alex Albon. Did eventually let Colapinto back past, but it was Nico Hülkenberg, I think, that took advantage of all the chaos in front of him. Hülkenberg just biding his time and waiting for Albon to come back onto the track, and then ducked up the inside of both of them. Hülkenberg up into 9th place. Hadjar has also got the better of Albon since then. And they run Hülkenberg, Colapinto inside of the points. Hadjar and Albon, the two drivers that have been in and around the points most often, down in 11th and 12th. 13th and 14th still the two Haas cars. And those hard compound tyre runners, just keeping an eye on their pace, because they just need to make sure that they're not getting too far adrift of the medium tyres. I know that they might be going for a slightly different strategy, maybe even a one-stop with the hard compound tyre, but need to make sure it doesn't play against them too much. In Carlos Sainz down in 16th is the one I'm kind of keeping an eye on, because you can compare him directly to Alex Albon, who's in that train. I suppose Gabriel Bortoletti kind of compared to Nico Hülkenberg, but Hülkenberg is in clean air, where Gabriel Bortoletti underneath the rear wing of Esteban Ocon. The lap are tumbling. It does feel like everyone's settled in slightly. A little bit of tyre management for the grid. Lando Norris also an interesting one to keep an eye on. Just closing in a touch on Fernando Alonso. Alonso still sitting inside DRS range of Hamilton. I think just being towed along slightly by the Ferrari. And Piastri, happy with the degradation on the front tyres, but not happy with the degradation on the rears. Already struggling a touch with the rear tyres inside of that McLaren car. And if plan B was a one-stop strategy, feels like that is going to be a a long one-stop strategy for Oscar Piastri. Is going to be a lot about managing those tires and hoping, really, that something goes wrong for the guys in front. I know it gains you sort of 20 seconds or so that you stop, but if you lose that 20 seconds in terms of race pace, and also track position is so crucial throughout the year so far. We've seen that track position can benefit you more than anything else throughout 2025. Will the mediums be able to do the business for Piastri? Still 2.3 seconds adrift of Antonelli, 5.5 seconds off the lead of the race. Although it is on a fresh set of medium tyres compared to the guys in front. You've got to remember, Russell, Verstappen and Antonelli all starting on slightly scrubbed sets of mediums. Piastri and Hamilton behind with fresh sets. Norris and Leclerc also starting on fresh sets of hard compound tyres. And Charles Leclerc already not very happy at all. And basically, Ferrari confirming that we are seeing higher degradation than expected on the medium tyre as well. So unlikely that anyone's going to be able to get away with a one-stop strategy at this rate by the sounds of things. Is it raining or is it wet? Absolutely not. The air temperature is 23.8 degrees Celsius. And it is looking bright and nice, I would say. Verstappen on the radio. Very fragile is the words of Max Verstappen on the radio, discussing his tyres with GP. Gianpiero Lambiase will be back to the strategy board then and asking the team what they can do with that information. Verstappen has started to fall off a cliff, really. Antonelli closing into the back of the Red Bull. Lando Norris has also decided to close into the back of Fernando Alonso. Alonso's fallen away from Hamilton in recent events. And here comes Lando Norris. And Norris does indeed finally get that position from Fernando. It did feel inevitable at some point in the race, but Norris deciding that 12 laps is enough. And Alonso was right under the rear wing of Hamilton. I just wonder whether actually Alonso had just done a little bit too much work on those tyres in the dirty year behind Lewis Hamilton. Now down to 7th place. Kimi Antonelli is having a little look at the back of Max Verstappen's car. It's a nice little move, actually, from Lando Norris at the hairpin, just getting past Fernando Alonso on that back straight. DRS popping open. And in to 6th place, just a couple of positions behind his teammate now. Of course, the two McLaren cars on different strategies, though. And this is the battle I'm interested in. Kimi Antonelli is within a couple of tenths of a second of Verstappen. Is he going to go for a move down towards turn 13? I think that he is. DRS is open, and I think Verstappen peels into the pits. Verstappen has had enough of those medium tyres, goes straight on, and Antonelli is going to be up into 2nd place. So it's a Mercedes 1-2, but Verstappen into the pits. Early pit stop from Max Verstappen, lap 13 of the race. But those medium tyres just going off a cliff, and maybe Verstappen has found a little pocket that he can come out into where there's not too much traffic. Just seeing Nico Hülkenberg going past. I suppose it's not the worst place for Verstappen to come out into. He's got a few seconds, 2.5 seconds to Hülkenberg in front. But maybe going for the undercut here, Max Verstappen, after losing the pace on those medium tyres. Kimi Antonelli did feel like he was going to go for a move anyway, but Verstappen peeling into the pits meant we didn't get to see that happen. George Russell now leads then 3.8 seconds from his teammate Antonelli behind in 2nd spot. Oscar Piastri now up into 3rd with Verstappen pitting. And who blinks next then? Russell box. Covering the undercut. Josh Russell is in. Kimi Antonelli goes past. And Antonelli is leading the Grand Prix. The Italian rookie is at the front of a race. Of course, was there in Miami. Started on pole position for the sprint race, but the Canadian Grand Prix is going to have laps completed at the front of the pack. The hard compound tyre does feel like the one to go for. The medium tyres seemingly falling away much quicker than the teams were expecting, or at least Ferrari was expecting. Isaac Hadjar following the lead of the previous race leaders. Russell has come out ahead of Hülkenberg. George Russell also in a nice little bit of clean air to Fernando Alonso ahead. Charles Leclerc has also now dispatched Fernando Alonso whilst we were watching the pit stops coming in. And Lando Norris on the radio. Plan A. Need one of those amazing races from you here. So the go-ahead for Lando Norris to start to do the business, basically. Antonelli is going to box. Everybody going for the, well, has to be a two-stop at the front of the race, doesn't it? Lando Norris getting the hurry up, and wow, getting the hurry up indeed. Now within DRS range of Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris. And I think Norris just realizing now that the medium tyres are going to go off. He needs to get himself in a nice little bit of clean air and close into the back of his teammate. Hamilton is 3 seconds adrift of Piastri, who now leads the race. Russell came out in front of Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg runs 7th. Verstappen and Antonelli at 8th and 9th. So Antonelli now trying to regain the position that he had on Verstappen. Looked like he was going to try and go for the overtake as Verstappen pulled into the pits. Comes out behind Verstappen once again. And here comes Lando Norris then. Hard compound tyre on that McLaren car. The Ferrari of Hamilton is going to box. But Lando Norris is going to get the move done before they get to that corner anyway. And through turn 13, Lando Norris goes and into the pits. Lewis Hamilton goes. Norris would have been ahead going into turn 13 anyway. But Hamilton covering off the rest of the pack. Hamilton did start on the medium tyre. Alonso into the pits as well. Just feels like those medium tyres are going off for everybody at this point. Alex Albon has continued on with them. 19 laps those tyres have done on Alex Albon's car. Of course, 16 in this race. They were slightly scrubbed beforehand from qualifying. Very early pit stops. We were expecting about this, I suppose, but I was expecting about lap 19, 20 to really see some of these tyre changes, but the medium tyre falling away a lot quicker than we were expecting. Piastri continuing on, but I'm just looking at Piastri's lap times, and they're not blowing me away. He's 0.3 slower than George Russell on the last lap, a 17.1 from Piastri to a 16.8 from Russell. Not so sure. Max Verstappen now getting past Nico Hülkenberg and Oscar Piastri. As I said, those lap times weren't setting the track on fire. So now comes into the pits. That's going to release those guys that started on the hard compound tyre. Norris and Leclerc now leading the Grand Prix. And the problem that we've got now is because we've got a few of those drivers on very different strategies to one another. Norris and Leclerc starting on the hards versus Russell and Verstappen having got their medium stints out of the way. It's going to be interesting to see how this develops as the race progresses. And until we get to the final 15, 20 laps of the race, we're not going to know exactly where everybody shuffles into in terms of their race pace and what tyres they have left to run. Kimi Antonelli now looking at the back of Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg's still running on the medium tyre. I think Hulkenberg should have come in if it was me at Stake Sauber, but maybe they don't really like the hard compound tyre either. But Kimi Antonelli dispatches Nico Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg down into 6th place. Russell, Verstappen, Antonelli have all pitted. Oscar Piastri next in the queue to get past the Stake Sauber car and back towards those fighting for the podium spots. Albon and Ocon behind. Hamilton has slotted into 10th place after his pit stop. Oh, and Carlos Sainz with a very late maneuver. Gabriel Bortoleto almost collected by the Williams. Must have been a couple of laps ago now, because Bortoleto has also dropped behind Behrman and Tsunoda since then. Tsunoda's not doing too badly here, actually, is he? Up into 13th place. I suppose Alonso, Colapinto and Hadjar have all pitted now. But still, we are looking at Yuki Tsunoda running in 13th spot. Piastri not looking like a championship leader. It does feel like the McLaren maybe just not quite there. Well, really wasn't enjoying his time on the medium tyre was Piastri, and maybe just went a couple of laps too long, because he was falling away from the lap times of the likes of Russell and Verstappen, but now has just slightly fresher hard tyres compared to the rest of them. So maybe that will come to his aid a little bit later on in this stint as he gets past Nico Hulkenberg and up into 6th spot. So we do now have that Russell, Verstappen, Antonelli, Piastri quartet back together again as Hulkenberg drops back towards those midfield cars that he's actually battling. Hulkenberg still yet to have stopped, though. Albon also in 8th place on the mediums. And Ocon starting on the hard compound tyre. Maybe is a stroke of genius here from the Haas team. I know they split their strategies with Behrman starting on the medium and Ocon starting on the hard, but Esteban Ocon now running in 9th place, has DRS to Alex Albon ahead, is putting in lap times that are a lot better than the Williams ahead of him. Problem is, he's got Lewis Hamilton in his wing mirrors as well. Was the medium that bad? It feels like it, yeah. It feels like all of the teams really not comfortable at all on the medium compound tyre, and the degradation a lot higher than they were expecting. Maybe it's just because the temperature is a little bit higher than we usually have when we come to the Canadian Grand Prix, but well, here comes Esteban Ocon, as I mentioned before, inside of that Haas, started on the hard compound tyre, Albon still on the medium, and there you go, there's the proof that you needed. Ocon on the hard compound tyre is going past Nico Hulkenberg, is finally had enough of that medium compound. A little bit late for me, I think. Nico Hulkenberg making that call. We saw the front runners make it, well, Max Verstappen 12 laps into the race. He'd had more than enough of that medium compound tyre. Sainz and Albon swapping positions for Williams, knowing that they're on different strategies. So Carlos Sainz let by his Williams teammate. No rain in Montreal this weekend. I know. It's very warm weather Montreal, isn't it? It's not something that we generally get to see. We often see a little bit of mixed conditions throughout the weekend, a bit of drizzle here and there. But no, it's been a lovely weekend by all accounts in Canada. Ocon now leading this pack. Hamilton trying to get ahead of the Haas. And Albon not very happy on the radio again, saying it's annoying him that the team just don't seem to listen. Albon clearly wanted to get off that medium tyre way earlier. And Albon now falling away from where he would have expected to be in this one. Next year it's in April. All I'm going to say is good luck. And Albon on the radio again. So frustrated. And now saying on the radio, it's not worth it. Don't do all that and now box. And there is a little bit of a back and forth between Albon and his engineer here that is not pretty to listen to. They are not singing from the same hymn sheet at all inside of that Williams garage right now. They want to pit him. He doesn't want to pit. Track temperature, 49.7 degrees Celsius. Maybe that is just what is cooking those medium tyres. Yuki Tsunoda now makes his way past Alex Albon as well as they go down towards turn 13. Norris still leading then. Charles Leclerc, a 116.2. Russell only a 116.0. But Verstappen and Antonelli in the 115s as well as Piastri. So they're the ones to keep an eye out on, aren't they? Verstappen just sort of closing in a few tenths every lap. George Russell might just be holding onto his tyres though, knowing that he only needs to really cover those 116s ahead, where Verstappen and Antonelli are trying to catch up to the back of the race leader. We know that Verstappen, 2 seconds adrift. Antonelli now over 5 seconds off the back of Verstappen. Remember, Antonelli was right under the rear wing of Max when Max pulled into the pits. That extra lap where Antonelli didn't pit, and then Verstappen also continuing on and maybe just showing a little bit more experience and a little bit more nous on these hard compound tyres. Oscar Piastri also holding on a 116.0 from him, 14 seconds off of his teammate. And that's the thing, when Lando Norris pits, where is he going to slot in? At the moment, Norris would still fall 6 seconds or so adrift of Oscar Piastri. So Piastri knows that he just needs to match his teammates' time at the front of the pack. Fernando Alonso now having a little look at Albon, and Albon is falling like a stone. His tyres look absolutely shot to pieces on that Williams car. And Williams and Albon now, again, just continuing to have a real tete-a-tete over the radio. Albon, 26 laps completed on those tyres, 23 during the Grand Prix, 3 of those in qualifying yesterday. Lance Stroll in 14th place. We're on board with the Canadian as he's now the next car in line to get past Alex Albon. Albon has fallen pretty substantially. Was overtaken by Carlos Sainz as the team swapped them around, but Tsunoda, Bortoleto, Alonso have all made their way past fairly comfortably. Now we're looking at Lance Stroll looking to do the same. DRS open on the Aston Martin car, peels to the right-hand side, and is easily going to get that position on Alex Albon. So Albon down to 14th, and finally concedes. Albon pulls into the pits on a set of medium tyres that he will never, ever want to see again. And the Williams team, I think, have to take quite a lot of the blame there, because Albon is going to come out, still going to be fairly far behind Ollie Behrman. Let's see what the delta is. Charles Leclerc, plan B, and Charles Leclerc even thinks he should go for plan C. So Charles Leclerc may be thinking he can go even longer. Is it the guys that are going to start on the hard compound tyre, maybe going for the one-stop strategy? The problem is Leclerc might think that he can go further on the mediums than he actually can, because he hasn't seen that, well, everybody who started on the mediums had had enough of them within about 10 laps, I would have to say. So this tyre strategy from Norris and Leclerc is going to be a very interesting one to play out. Piastri still 14 seconds off the lead of Lando Norris, so it's not like they're going to be able to pit and come out ahead of this pack of 4. Norris and Leclerc are going to come out behind Piastri. They're going to have to make their way through that Piastri, Antonelli, Verstappen, Russell bulk if he wants to win this Grand Prix, Lando Norris, as Lance Stroll peels into the pits and is on the hard compound tyre, Lance Stroll. So 25 laps. He looks like those hard to hard. And he's definitely going to have to stop again. So Lance Stroll going for the two-stop strategy. Needs to use the medium tyre or the soft compound tyre if he really fancies it at some point. Although with the tyre degradation as it is, I'm not sure that that's the best choice. Lando Norris then 2.5 ahead of Leclerc. It's a pretty poor lap from Lando Norris, a 116.4. And George Russell has just gone fastest, a 115.5. So maybe Lance Stroll just showing us that those hard compound tyres are also now starting to hit the limit a little bit, as Russell is 0.5 of a second faster than Leclerc. Verstappen 0.3 quicker as well. Not an amazing lap from Kimi Antonelli, but still 2.5 seconds ahead of Piastri. It's interesting that Piastri and Antonelli are quite far adrift of Russell and Verstappen at this point, on the same strategy as well. So Piastri is going to need some electric laps if he's going to really put himself in contention for victory here. And we're seeing George Russell catching up to the back of Charles Leclerc. So it's going to be very tight indeed. Maybe Charles Leclerc deciding on that one-stop strategy, but he's going to see George Russell getting past him now. And George Russell, yeah, makes it look, well, pretty easy, to be honest. Down towards turn 13. George Russell done ahead. And now Verstappen is going to be looking at the back of that prancing horse and thinking to himself, I need to get there as soon as humanly possible. He does not want to see George Russell disappearing off into the distance, because Max Verstappen is still well within touching distance of another victory here in 2025. They've been few and far between, considering how dominant he was just, well, a couple of years ago. We saw Max Verstappen break every record that there has ever been. And Verstappen now third in the championship. On the fringe, though, of a possible penalty point disaster. One more penalty point on that license, and Max Verstappen would miss Red Bull's home race at the Red Bull Ring. So he needs to just be a touch careful. But here he comes. Charles Leclerc can see Max Verstappen in his wing mirrors now. He's within the DRS range of the Ferrari. He's going to gain on the back of the Scuderia. Down towards turn 13 they come, but Verstappen just outside of touching distance for now, so he's going to have to wait, and he's going to give George Russell another lap where he's in that clean air ahead, although George Russell, a 116 dead, is not the best lap that he's done it over the last few laps. 1.8 seconds adrift of Lando Norris, and this is where those strategies are starting to meet one another. How long will Norris and Leclerc try and eke this out? Are they going to go for the one-stop strategy? Are they thinking about it? It's going to be very tight indeed. I was watching Le Mans before this. Lovely to see Robert Kubica. Oh, that's what you guys are literally saying. Yeah, lovely to see Robert Kubica getting that Le Mans victory. A possible legend of Formula One that we never really got to see come to fruition. The only Polish race winner, of course. Charles Leclerc is going to box then. The call has been made by Ferrari. 28 laps. Doesn't feel like that's going to be one-stoppable. But definitely not one-stoppable. Let's not be silly about it. 30 laps completed on a set of hard compound tyres. But it's whether he goes hard onto hard and keeps the medium for a bit of a sprint at the end. He does. It is hard tyre on Charles Leclerc. And Charles Leclerc says he does not understand this choice. Got to use two different types of tyre, though. Fernando Alonso dispatching Yuki Tsunoda for 10th place and the final point scoring position as it stands. Alonso has pitted as well, so he's going to gain a position surely on Ocon and Sainz ahead of him fairly soon. Ocon and Sainz, 28 laps completed on those hard compound tyres each. Started on the hard compound tyre, have done very well to sustain it. But Tsunoda now being outdone by Fernando Alonso. Tsunoda, Bortoletto, Lawson, Gasly, all on the hard compound tyre from the beginning as well. Think Ferrari did the right thing here? I think so too. I think that the pace to do the one stop, I don't think Leclerc was quite... Well, I don't know what Leclerc obviously knows, but I don't think Leclerc would have been happy with the pace of the medium compound tyre. I think he was expecting, oh, maybe I can go a little bit longer and maybe I can get onto the medium compound. But I don't think he would have been happy with the medium compound, to be honest, would Charles Leclerc. And here, Lando Norris. Let's see what that gap is to Oscar Piastri. It was expecting it to be about 6 or so. Yeah, 6 point, nearly 7 seconds, actually. Lando Norris now back from his teammate, which is what we kind of expected from the intervals that we could see. So Norris now on some fresh medium tyres, by the way. Needs to be a little bit careful on those medium tyres. I understand this decision from the McLaren team, to be honest. I think it's a smart one because they know that the medium tyres, well, at least on Piastri's car, did not last as long as they were hoping. And maybe a sort of fresh hard compound tyre at the end. And Charles Leclerc, why have we boxed? Why have we boxed? We're on plan B. Charles Leclerc, of course, wanted plan C. Again, another discussion. It's going to be interesting. There's a lot of back and forth from the drivers and teams here today. I think the tyres not quite playing out the way that the teams expected. The drivers not quite sure how the tyres are going to last, especially when they get onto the other set. I think Charles Leclerc, as much as he's arguing here, I don't know if he, once he gets onto the medium tyre, he might be a bit more aware of why they've made this strategy choice. But at the same time, maybe he gets onto the medium tyre and he's happy with it. And we see a fairly frustrated Ferrari man. Disappointing that Lewis Hamilton has kind of fallen out of this completely. He's behind his teammate by a considerable margin. 5 seconds adrift of Leclerc after that pit stop and has 13 lap older hard compound tyres. So Hamilton just sort of driving the Canadian Grand Prix all by himself. And Fernando Alonso, very blunt on the radio, being told to be a little bit more gentle on the entry to turn 3 and turn 8, which are pretty substantial corners when it comes to leaning on the tyres. And Fernando Alonso saying on the radio, look, I'm racing, not testing. I'm trying to catch the back of my Spanish compatriots. Carlos Sainz ahead of him in 9th place. Sainz and Ocon definitely going for the one-stop strategy by the looks of things. 30 laps completed by Ocon and Sainz. Lando Norris now setting the fastest lap of the race. And this is the thing. Lando Norris now, fresh set of medium tyres. Everybody else is going to be slightly nursing a set of hards because they know that they've got to pit one last time onto another set of hards for the end, likely. Or maybe they'll go mediums onto hards onto mediums. This is where holding on to an extra set of mediums compared to yesterday in qualifying, where a few teams did burn through some mediums. Interesting to see how that plays out. Although this middle stint is a little bit of a weird one, because as I say, everyone is on slightly different strategies. Until we get to about lap 50 to 55, we won't have a perfect idea of who's going to be where and what's going to be happening. So we're just waiting and seeing. Alex Albon's strategy is being discussed by James Vowles, and Nobody's very happy about it by the sounds of things. A lot of drivers not very happy. It is hard, like, for the teams to judge. It's so difficult because you've got your driver saying one thing, the other drivers and the other team saying other things. You've got, of course, the data from the other car, but with some of these drivers, you've got a mixture of strategies, like Ocon and Behrman, for instance, swapping. One of them starting on the mediums, one of them starting on the hards, one going very long. Less difficult for the team to gauge a lot from the other driver. And also, you've got the absolute wild card that could be played of a safety car as Ollie Behrman nearly loses it down into turn 3. So Ollie Behrman just reminding us that Canada does throw in a safety car or two. Seen it before. Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris last year, of course, having to gamble. Safety car came out. Did he pit? Did he not? Should he have pit? It was a tough call for the team to make. Obviously, in hindsight, we now know that Lando Norris would have been in a much better position had he pitted straight away under the safety car, but it's going to be a different scenario here because there is no change in weather conditions by the looks of things. Still a lovely day in Canada. As Fernando Alonso now does get past his other Spaniard on the grid. Carlos Sainz slots into 10th place and is just running a very different race. 33 laps completed on that. Max Verstappen, 4 seconds adrift of the race leader. We haven't really talked about George Russell much here because Russell just continually putting in decent lap times, a 15.5, keeping the rest of them at bay. Kimi Antonelli is actually closing the gap on Max Verstappen at this moment in time. Antonelli 0.6 of a second quicker than Verstappen on that last lap. Piastri also gaining pretty substantially on the Dutchman. And the current world champion is going to be under pressure from those two cars behind fairly soon. Lando Norris also setting fastest laps after fastest laps. Another fast lap from him, a 15.0. 6.5 seconds, though, off the back of his teammate. Lando Norris knows that this is a crucial part of the race for him. Getting that medium stint done in clean air, can hold on to those medium tyres a little bit better than the rest of the pack ahead of him, and maybe just put himself in a really solid position going into that final stint. Maybe goes on to another set of medium tyres here. Lando Norris, if he's got them available to him. Started on the hard compound, of course. If he is finding that pace on the medium tyre, can hold on to them for a little bit longer as the fuel loads start to drain. Lando Norris isn't out of this as of yet, although it does feel like the race lead is done and dusted. George Russell looking very comfortable indeed out front. Charles Leclerc in 6th spot. Keeping an eye on him. 4 seconds off the back of Lando Norris as Norris now gets into the 114s. It's a 114.9 from Lando Norris. Again, just chunking another few tenths out of the cars ahead of him. And yeah, Lewis Hamilton all the way. 7th place, 7 seconds off the back of his teammate. And Gasly has been told to swap positions with Colapinto. Swap positions with Colapinto indeed. Gasly then still hasn't stopped, but Colapinto has, and Colapinto now released into 15th place. And it's those hard compound runners from the midfield who are really longing out their first stints. And Hamilton saying, I am nowhere in this race. Pace is good considering the damage. Now, a bit of damage to Lewis Hamilton's car. And Kimi Antonelli is closing in again. And Antonelli was looking to get past Max Verstappen as then Max Verstappen pitted. Now he's going to get another run at the current world champion. And the rookie in the Mercedes, that Mercedes does just look like an absolute rocket around the Canadian Grand Prix circuit, doesn't it? Every year the Mercedes car seems to just turn up and be good in Canada. Now, even in 2022 and 2023, it wasn't a disaster weekend for Mercedes. They always seem to turn up and be okay when it comes to Canada. This year, again, just haven't really looked like a car that's going to win any races. And now looks so strong in the hands of George Russell. 5.5 seconds in the lead. And Kimi Antonelli, his teammate, is also closing in on second place. And Verstappen, once again, ducks out of the way. As soon as Antonelli is within DRS striking distance, Max Verstappen seems to just jump into the pits. And Verstappen going for a very long final stint then on the hard compound tyre. Pitted early onto the first set of hards. It's another set of hards for Max Verstappen. And have Red Bull seen a gap that they can come out into? Why did they decide to go now? They're going to come out. I see. They're going to come out ahead of Lewis Hamilton. So nice little jump in there. 5 seconds adrift of Charles Leclerc and can get the traction down on that fresh set of hard compound tyres. The undercut on George Russell, very, very unlikely considering the gap was up to nearly 6 seconds. Car suits colder tracks. That's very true, but it's not that cold. That's the thing. It's 24.6 degrees. I know it's not the Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia temperatures that we get, but still it's a warm day. I think he just likes this kind of track as Kimi Antonelli decides to cover off Max Verstappen. He wants a run at that Red Bull, doesn't he? The Italian has caught up to the back of Verstappen twice, and both times he's had to watch Verstappen disappear into the pits. Verstappen is just coming down the straight. It's going to be very close indeed, actually, as Antonelli might get the jump on him during the pit stops. We wanted to see a battle between them. They're going to come out side by side. Antonelli comes out of the pits. Verstappen's just got a little bit better of a run through turn 2 as Antonelli has to speed up and get the tyres up to temperature. This is going to be a lovely little battle between Antonelli and Verstappen over the last 32 laps of this Grand Prix. Let's just do that. Piastri asked if he can get to the end on these tyres, and Piastri just saying it's going to be a little bit of degradation on these. It's going to be a very long race if they're going to try and get to the end on these. I suppose Piastri has got, let's see, the gap to Verstappen, 16 seconds. I mean, he's going to have to keep 16 seconds gap on Verstappen over 31 laps. So Verstappen only needs to be half a second or so quicker per lap. See what Piastri's lap times were like, a 1:15.6, Verstappen a 1:15.2. So Verstappen does need to be a little bit quicker than that, but he kind of needs, what Piastri needs is Verstappen and Antonelli to get into like a 2 or 3 lap battle that kind of costs both of them a few seconds each. And then he might just be able to get into it. Russell, though, just looking super comfortable. I don't know. Do you risk it if you're Piastri? I'm trying to do the maths on it. It's so tight. If Piastri can keep up this pace, there's no way he's going to be able to go that far on a set of hards because it's 30 laps. It'd be 54 laps on a set of hard compound tires. And I know that the cars get lighter towards the end of the race, but just feels like way too much to ask Piastri to do. Of course, Lando Norris is going to have to pit again. No way he's going to the end on those mediums. But could Piastri try and keep Verstappen at that length? Verstappen at 15.4, Piastri at 15.7. And it's that half a second that he needs. And it's just not quite half a second. Oh, it's going to be tight. It's going to be very, very tight indeed. Keep an eye on it. Be interesting to see what Piastri does decide to do because he is still losing time to Verstappen and Antonelli at this point. How much time can he really afford to lose? Band of blisters on the tire. Yeah, that's what I mean, but I don't think he will stay out, but it's certainly doable. I can understand why the McLaren team are looking at it, but yeah, it's, as I say, if those tires then just completely fall off a cliff, it makes you look like an absolute idiot, doesn't it? When you could have just pitted 4 or 5 laps earlier. At this distance, the undercut is impossible. I don't think they're going for an undercut or anything like that. I don't think Piastri is winning this race, but I think Piastri could be looking at Verstappen and Antonelli and thinking a second place finish would be very beneficial indeed, especially as Lando Norris is going quick, but isn't setting the lap times on fire or anything like that. Was it the Montreal Grand Prix yesterday? Oh, how was it, Alex? Qualifying was electric, so it must have been brilliant, but what did you actually think of the track and the surrounding area? George Russell, box. George Russell, box. Ooh. Pierre Gasly is fighting with Ollie Behrman. Behrman takes the escape road. And Isaac Hadjar slots into 16th spot. Starting to see those one-stop strategies coming to roost. Ocon and Sainz still going on the hard compound tyre. 41 laps completed on them. And Oscar Piastri takes the lead of the race then as George Russell does pit. Still comes out 7 seconds ahead of Verstappen. And as I say, George Russell looking like he is absolutely miles ahead. Yeah, it's... Russell, oh no, it's only 3.5 seconds the gap to Verstappen, but I just don't think Verstappen really has it in him at the moment, as Antonelli has been the one sort of badgering Verstappen rather than Verstappen looking like he's going to get any closer to the lead of this race. Piastri's still out there, by the way, though. Piastri now 26 laps completed on those hard compound tyres. So looking very close to going for it. I'm sure they're crunching the numbers down at McLaren. Again, the lap times aren't bad from Piastri. 1:15.6. Looking at Verstappen at 1:15.3. It's not like Verstappen is closing in a ridiculous amount. It's just whether or not you look at the flip side of it. You put Oscar Piastri on a fresh set of tyres and you look at what that McLaren car has been able to do throughout the rest of the season. I know it's not looking amazing over the course of the Canadian Grand Prix weekend, but the rest of the season, it's been electric quick. Ocon is now 42 lap old hards. Yeah, he's going very deep indeed as well. Where's Alex Albon? Albon's got to be so frustrated right now. Just look, he's down in 19th place. Not the weekend he would have wanted at all. Piastri down to turn 13 and continues on. And Piastri on the radio again complaining about the fact that the car is just getting harder and harder to drive. Maybe they should just come in, right? Should just decide to make a change. Interesting as well that we've had no investigations or penalties at all in this race so far. Not even like a little battle in the midfield that somebody's gone for a dive bomb move and maybe not quite been perfectly capable of doing it. And Piastri, box, but he's only at turn 8. So maybe an early call for Piastri to box. Feel like he does have to do it, doesn't he? Piastri 15.7, Verstappen at 15.3 again, but then Antonelli's on the 15.2s. And if Piastri's tyres are really starting to fall away, fresh air helps Piastri. Well, that's what I mean. He's going to have this fresh air, well, for the rest of the race, really. Well, until, I guess, George Russell catches up to him. Because Russell, 11 seconds in 26 laps. Doesn't matter anyway. Piastri's going to come in. It's all hearsay at this point. And the degradation was clearly too high in Piastri's eyes. So Norris and Leclerc now are race leaders once again. The guys that started on the hards. Of course, Leclerc does need to stop again. So we can't really do this game with Charles Leclerc. He has absolutely got to stop again. Has only used the hard compound tyre. Needs to use either a soft or a medium in the regulations without being disqualified. And Lewis Hamilton, his teammate, has also come into the pits. Hamilton running in 7th place all by himself. It has been a lonely race for Lewis Hamilton. A little bit of damage to that Ferrari car has meant that it's been nowhere near the top 6. Luckily, he's been able to keep the midfield maestros at bay as Fernando Alonso just can't quite get in front of Lewis Hamilton there after the pit stops, although Alonso needs to stop again, surely. 31 lap old hard compound tyres on that Aston Martin car. It's Ocon and Sainz, which are the interesting pair, isn't it? They have 51 and 50. 48 and 51 seconds off of the lead, Ocon and Sainz. But then you add 20 to that, so go to 71. They would come out right at the back of the pack with Ocon and Sainz, but you'd assume that everybody else has got to pit. So Hülkenberg, Bortoleto, Colapinto, Behrman, Hadjar, Stroll, Gasly, Albon probably all have to pit again. Maybe not in the case of... Maybe that's what Albon was trying to do. Albon might go very far. It's got a lot better pace than Pierre Gasly right now. At least looking at the last lap. Oh, and we finally have an investigation. Gasly and Stroll. As Yuki Tsunoda is having a little battle with Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg right under the rear wing of the Red Bull. Hülkenberg DRS open. Tsunoda goes to the defensive position of turn 1. Norris is getting some traffic. Norris has pitted. Norris is in. I think, yeah, because he was catching up to the back of Albon there, wasn't he, Lando Norris? So deciding that that is not the dirty air that he wants to be in. Slots into the pits. While the tyres are going. It's another set of hards onto Lando Norris's car. I mean, I can understand it. He's going to be adrift of Piastri. And that's the thing. In terms of the championship battle here, Piastri and Norris, they're going to be on pretty much the same tyre. Piastri slightly more scrubbed, 2 laps old. And Lando Norris on a fresh set of hards. There's going to be 3.5 second gap between them. I think Lando Norris is going to be fairly happy to see that his teammate is so close, to be honest. Piastri would have been looking at the starting places on the grid and thinking, well, I should at least gain a good chunk of points on my teammate here. But Lando Norris right behind him. Piastri just having to make his way past Albon and Lawson. Oh. And that is a yellow flag as Alex Albon has pulled off at turn 10 and is going to retire the car. It's been an absolute horror weekend. Well, horror race. It was looking very, very good for Albon. Albon was doing a great job inside of that Williams across Friday. They were looking very competitive indeed. Then qualified fairly well as well. And Albon now out of the Grand Prix. It'll be interesting to hear what's wrong with that car. I mean, to be fair, they did have to put an entire piece of bodywork, so maybe it's not been an amazing weekend for Alex Albon. His car did disintegrate on him at one point, but aside from that, he's actually had really good pace until they had a strategy nightmare at the beginning of the Grand Prix. Although here comes Nico Hülkenberg on Yuki Tsunoda, and Hülkenberg gets the move done. Tsunoda still hasn't pitted, by the way. Neither is Ocon or Sainz. They have to at some point. They have to use another set of tyres. Ocon and Sainz just playing very conservatively by the looks of things and holding on to a set of mediums. And there's a 10-second time penalty confirmed for Lance Stroll there for pushing another driver off the track. So 10-second time penalty for Lance Stroll. Down in 17th place at the moment. So I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference to his overall weekend. But a penalty nonetheless has been given. Gabriel Bortoleto is doing very well indeed. Starting to find some pace. Got a little bit of a fresh air to Yuki Tsunoda in front of him. Let's see what he can do. Is he in escape route? Oh, Alex Albon, yeah. He pulled off at turn 10 and went to the behind the barriers at turn 10. So is off the track and there's no chance for safety car or anything like that. Piastri and Norris keeping an eye on them as well. Oh, as we see, Gabriel Bortoleto coming into the pits. Needed a second set of tyres. Bortoleto, pretty solid stop. 2.4 seconds from the Stake Sauber team. Let's see what he can do. Oh, and there's another incident involving Behrman and Hadjar, which is now being looked into by the stewards as well. Lando Norris sets another fast lap. He's 0.04 of a second quicker than his teammate. Piastri is also turning up the heat at 14.5. Antonelli's in the 15s, so is Verstappen. So the two McLaren cars deciding that they want to turn up and be in and amongst the battle. George Russell also hasn't been electric in this final stint. It was looking absolutely guaranteed that George Russell was going to go on to win this race. Stayed out a little bit longer than Verstappen and Antonelli. Just lost a few seconds because of that, but fresher tyres on Russell's car compared to the two behind him. Charles Leclerc continuing on, but George Russell is now 1.3 seconds off the back of the Ferrari. Is going to get that DRS advantage fairly soon. And here we go. Charles Leclerc's pace is dropping off. And Piastri is being told this is going to be a straight fight between you, Verstappen, and Antonelli. I'm assuming they're thinking to catch up to George Russell, possibly. But as I say, this is where all of the strategies are going to start to converge. And this is where I think Piastri can start to come into his own a little bit. This is what we wanted, though. The Grand Prix has played out almost perfectly for a lot of these drivers in and amongst the top four. They've had twos and fros. They've had stints where they were good, stints where they were bad, and it's all combining to a final run to the line. Verstappen 2 seconds behind Russell. Antonelli another couple of seconds. Piastri just got himself within DRS range for a moment there. And Charles Leclerc, the medium for me is a good tyre. Charles Leclerc wants to pit. He wants to come in. George Russell is in the dirty air of the Ferrari. Will George Russell be able to release himself once the Ferrari is gone? That's the other question. If Leclerc does pit, will we start to see George Russell turn up the heat again? Russell was flying away from the pack behind him, but now they're closing in. Verstappen, Antonelli and Piastri. Piastri now within DRS range again of the Italian. And Antonelli, so frustrating. Both times he's had a look at the back of Verstappen's car. Verstappen has pitted and gained a couple attempts due to the pit stops. They came out side by side when Antonelli pitted last. But it's looking like Piastri is going to be the driver to get into a battle with the Italian. And Antonelli is under pressure from the championship leader. Charles Leclerc continues in the lead of this Grand Prix. Russell a second and a half back. But surely Leclerc does have to pit again. We know Leclerc has to pit again. He's only run the hard compound tyres so far in this race. Russell, 10 laps completed on his set of hard compound tyres. Verstappen and Antonelli pitted sooner. So it does feel like Russell will have more in the tank towards the end. But will the McLaren, as the temperature reaches 25.1 degrees and as the fuel loads gets a little bit lighter, be able to turn up the heat and win another Grand Prix? Here comes Leclerc. Leclerc box. So this is it then. The final sprint to the flag. 18 laps left. And as Piastri was told on the radio, it is going to be all about whether George Russell can get away from this pack. Antonelli's now under pressure from Piastri. He's able to hold on to the position this time around. Lando Norris in 5th place as well. Charles Leclerc is going to come out in a really odd spot. He's going to be miles off the back of Lando Norris by the looks of things and miles ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Ferrari have kind of put themselves in a bit of a no man's land in this race with both of their cars, to be honest. Lando Norris setting fastest sector times all over the place. It was a 14.3 from him. He's still 3 seconds, though, off the back of Piastri. And now we've also got the problem of Russell catching up to some back markers. We've got Colapinto, Behrman, Hadjar all in front. Gasly as well. As Fernando Alonso gets past Yuki Tsunoda. Alonso stopped for the second time. Ocon and Sainz still haven't stopped, by the way. We've got Ocon and Sainz in 8th and 9th place, 53 laps completed and 53 laps completed on those hard compound tyres as Nico Hülkenberg is gaining on the Spanish of those two drivers. Gasly is into the pits. Here comes Piastri again on Antonelli, and Antonelli just seems to have too much on the straights. Even with DRS, Oscar Piastri is not able to close that gap. Antonelli is 1.5 seconds off the back of Verstappen, so no gain through DRS for the Italian at the moment, but he is closing that gap to Verstappen nonetheless. It is very tight indeed, right at the top end of the grid. And Russell hasn't really escaped away as I was maybe expecting him to do over the last couple of laps since Leclerc pitted. I was maybe seeing Russell going ahead, but I think it's because he's also got that traffic in front of him. The dirty air of Isaac Hadjar now in front of the Russell car. Colapinto and Behrman also there. They've all got to pit at some point, you would imagine, but they're going very long indeed. What can Piastri do? He just doesn't seem to have the straight line speed. And Kimi Antonelli inside of that Mercedes car, whatever they've done to the Mercedes to just reduce the downforce enough on those straights, means that Piastri, even with the DRS, still can't really have a look at Kimi Antonelli. It's going to be a frustrating end to the race unless he dives up the inside down in towards turn one. And no, just can't have a look at it. Antonelli stays ahead nonetheless. And I think this is the thing. Piastri is going to have to try and do something a little bit unexpected to catch Kimi Antonelli out. Liam Lawson is going to retire the car. It's been a horror afternoon for Liam Lawson, honestly. It's been absolutely nowhere after starting from the pit lane. And the RB car coming in and retiring from the race. Russell still only 2 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Maybe just keeping himself out of that position, though. You never know. Russell might just be managing this. He is at least seeing the cars ahead of him dwindle a little. Isaac Hadjar has come in. So just Colapinto and Behrman in the distance. Antonelli closing in. Isaac Hadjar is helping out Kimi Antonelli here. Because Antonelli able to get a little bit of a tow from Isaac Hadjar. Piastri is also going to hope that the Racing Bull gets out of the way pretty swiftly. Antonelli has got him. And it's going to cost Piastri a little bit of time there. That cost Piastri more than Antonelli. And Antonelli again gaining just that little bit of a gap on Piastri. That first podium position of his Formula One career on the line. Oscar Piastri will be thinking back a few years and thinking of his first opportunity. Of course, got that win in the Qatar sprint race. Really put Oscar Piastri on the map inside of that McLaren. Antonelli looking for his first day to celebrate with his Mercedes team. Lawson on the radio. And trying to look after the power unit at Racing Bulls. And Liam Lawson, as he says, had a pretty bad day, and it just went from bad to worse. And they have had enough as Yuki Tsunoda peels into the pits. Nico Hülkenberg is ahead of Carlos Sainz now. Esteban Ocon and Carlos Sainz still yet to have pitted. Is continuing to be... They're just going for a zero-stop race at Haas and Williams. I think one is trying to sort of wait for the other to blink, but it's just starting to get silly now because it's not like Carlos Sainz is within a run at Hülkenberg or Ocon ahead. Ocon about 4 or 5 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz. Both running that strategy, waiting for the others to stop. Lance Stroll has gone in for his second stop. So has Fernando Alonso. Obviously, the car's in the top 7, but in a very different battle. I'm just trying to keep an eye on where Esteban Ocon is actually going to go for it. And the back markers are really causing this to be a little bit of an annoying part of the race. We should have had a bit of a dart to the line between the top 4, but instead we've just had to wait until they've got past Behrman and they've got past Hadjar, and just waiting for all of these back markers to shift out of the way. It's very annoying, but we have now got Franco Colapinto out of the way of Lando Norris, and I think that is the final one of the back markers. Oh no, Esteban Ocon's in there as well. Can we just like have back markers for some reason just disappear? It's really... Oh, and it's just another... Piastri's just getting so unlucky behind these back markers as well. Oh, dear. I mean, Ocon did eventually pit. That's why Ocon is now in this mix as well. I thought we'd finally got done with the back markers, and then Esteban Ocon pits and comes out. I mean, it's brilliant for Esteban Ocon. He's come out in 10th place. He's got a fresh set of medium tyres, and Hülkenberg is probably going to have to pit again. So we could be looking at an Ocon masterclass here, where he goes super long on the first stint and makes it worse. Carlos Sainz has also pitted as well. But now we are finally done with the back markers. It is Russell Verstappen, Antonelli, Piastri, and Norris all within a touching distance. And Lando Norris has actually probably been the main beneficiary from this, because Piastri has lost out so much behind the back markers. He was right under the rear wing of Kimi Antonelli, now over a second and a half adrift of the Italian. And Lando Norris has got DRS to his teammate. So if you're a Kimi Antonelli fan, you're absolutely rubbing your hands together. If you're looking at Oscar Piastri's title chances, his teammate is going to close the gap at this rate. Lando Norris looks quicker of the two right now. He's got a bit better of those tyres and has the DRS advantage as well. Max Verstappen still 2 seconds adrift. And this is where we've got 10 laps left to go. Are we going to see these cars really ramp it up? Really, sort of Piastri and Norris should be in such a better position. They've got 7, 8 lap better tyres than the guys ahead of them. Lando Norris is 10 laps better off in terms of those hard compound tyres compared to Verstappen ahead, but not quite there yet. Piastri closing in. Lando Norris, DRS wide open. Is he going to have a look at his teammate down into turn 1? Not this time around. It doesn't seem to have been any radio calls either between the two McLarens. They're just being left to race. Of course, the swap here from 4th to 5th would be pretty substantial. Lando Norris, we would have a free stop if there was a safety car. Would you take it for a soft compound tyre? And Lando Norris says yes, of course. But I don't think he really wants to be worried with that at the moment, because he is bearing down on his teammate and knows, I know it's only 2 points, but it's 2 points nonetheless that he could gain on his teammate here. 2 points lost rather than 2 points gained would be amazing. Oh my goodness, he looks at his teammate once again. He's within that half a second gap. Piastri is still a second and a half adrift of Antonelli. It just feels like Piastri got absolutely ruined by those back markers. And compared to Russell Verstappen and Antonelli ahead, just had the worst time of it. George Russell, 2.2 seconds ahead. Russell now looking very comfortable once again for the lead of this race. Thought it was going to be a bit more of a crescendo to this. But as I say, those back markers getting in the way of these front 4 or 5 drivers for such a long time and condensing the pack in front just hasn't really played into their favour. Charles Leclerc, 6th place, and Hamilton 7th, just in a bit of no man's land. Hulkenberg down in 8th place. Fernando Alonso is in 9th. And just goes to show Esteban Ocon at the moment in a point-scoring finish, but is being lapped by the main drivers that we're looking at. Piastri again closing in on Antonelli, but is not close enough to get DRS. And Lando Norris within 0.2 of a second. Oof. Has a little look at his teammate down towards turn 13. He just needs another 10 meters of straight there, Lando Norris, and he's right alongside his teammate. And Piastri needs the DRS now to Antonelli. 0.2 of a second. Antonelli could do his Piastri a favour here. Just drop back a couple of tenths. He's got maybe one more lap before Piastri gets to within touching distance of Antonelli once more. It's going to be side by side. And Lando Norris is going to be told this by his engineer as well. Lando Norris is going to know that this is the opportunity. Lando Norris is going to know that it's going to be so tight between these two. They come to the hairpin, get so close to one another. And I love that about Canada. Because of that hairpin, you see the cars almost within touching distance of one another. DRS is wide open for Lando Norris again. He's actually a little bit further back than he was last time, but he's going to have to go for a lunge. Surely doesn't. Has a look up the inside of Piastri, but can't do it. Piastri gets a good exit, and now Piastri is within the DRS range. So Piastri now, once they get into those DRS zones again, is going to have DRS. So Oscar has done just enough. And it feels like Oscar here has now got the position on Norris. Norris needs a little bit of a dream exit off turn 10 here. Unless, of course, Antonelli gets into this mix and causes Oscar Piastri a bit of a headache. Piastri has a podium ahead of him, but knows that he also has a possible loss of 2 points to his teammate behind him. But it'd be a 4-point swing. It'd be 2 points lost from Piastri, 2 points gained from Lando Norris. Antonelli is in the mix. George Russell has just set the fastest lap of the race to show that he is more than capable of winning this Grand Prix from here. Verstappen slotting into second spot. It's actually been a very solid drive from Max Verstappen. Felt like he was on a bit of a weird strategy. Came in very early, did Verstappen, but he's made it work and actually looks very comfortable now on the hard compound tyre. Piastri's got the rear wing open, and that just means there's no DRS advantage for Lando Norris, and Norris is going to have to slot in behind his teammate, and Kimi Antonelli has driven exceptionally well here. Antonelli, though, now is going to have 5 laps of absolute nightmare because he's going to see both of the McLarens, probably one in each wing mirror as he's going down that final straight towards turn 13. McLaren, of course, the experience of Piastri and Norris behind, the overall better package, but that Mercedes car this weekend is singing. Antonelli, the final tick, it has to be said, to the start, sort of opening half of his season, would be a lovely tick to get a podium place, considering the pace of the Mercedes car that he's come into this year. Piastri, DRS, range with Antonelli. Antonelli has to look in his rear wing mirrors. Piastri was close, did have a little look, but just doesn't quite have the pace. Piastri still on the straights. Here comes Lando Norris as well. Norris is not going to give up on that possible overtake of his teammate. They're going to be so tightly packed throughout these final 3 laps. And okay, it's not for the win of the race. George Russell has made that look very easy indeed today, but it is for the final podium place, and it is a tight battle indeed. Piastri, 0.6 of a second. Lando Norris a little bit just looking at the back of his teammate. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, 6th and 7th place. Just a reminder, Fernando Alonso in 8th spot. Best of the rest for Fernando Alonso. And a very solid weekend indeed from the Aston Martin team. Hulkenberg once again. Oh, and Lando Norris is going to have a little look into turn 10. He's dived up the inside. He's caught Piastri napping. Piastri then has to return the favour. They're going to be side by side down the back straight. Piastri on the right-hand side. Lando Norris, DRS wide open. They are going to be absolutely neck and neck as they go down towards turn 13. Piastri's later on the brakes, carries that little bit more speed, and Piastri just about holds on to the position. Lando Norris trying to catch it. Oh, and he's touched the back of him. Lando Norris has sent himself flying. He's touched the back of Oscar Piastri's car. And that's the broken his front wing. He's out. Lando Norris is out of this race. Lando Norris, 67 laps, was so close to the back of his teammate. He's touched the back of Oscar Piastri's car, sent his front left tyre into the wall, and that is surely going to be a safety car to end this Grand Prix. Lando Norris is... Yeah, there is the safety car. Had to be done. Piastri was not going to let his teammate by easily. He closed that gap. And there is going to be some discussions at McLaren. That is going to be huge for the championship. Piastri will be 4th place in this race. Leclerc and Hamilton will make their way past a stranded Lando Norris at the end of the pit straight. Lando Norris thought there was room, went for a gap that maybe it wasn't there. We need to see a replay of that, I think, from Lando Norris's perspective. Lando Norris tried to catch Oscar Piastri sleeping at turn 10. It was a lovely battle between them through turn 10, 11 and 12, side by side, all the way down that back straight. Oscar Piastri up the inside, later on the brakes as well. Piastri knew he could just lunge up the inside and carry that little bit more speed, but then Lando Norris does get a better exit out of turn 14. Lando Norris underneath the rear wing as well, and yeah, he just touches... He went for that gap on the left-hand side of Piastri, and that gap just seem to close in front of him. Let's look at it from the onboard. Lando Norris right under the rear wing of Piastri. So much more speed. Goes to the left-hand side, but there isn't a gap there. And Lando Norris. And Lando Norris blames himself on the radio. And I have to agree with him. As much as I am a massive, massive advocate of Lando Norris, I've loved his time at McLaren. I think he has been a wonderful driver for the team. It has to be said, that is a huge, huge swing in Oscar Piastri's favour for the season. And Lando Norris goes for a gap. He just slightly misjudges it, I think. He just misjudges where his front wing is. It just makes you wonder. Oh, and Oscar Piastri pitted under the safety car, but then it's cost him dearly. I don't really know why. I understand why people are pitting under the safety car, but I don't think we're going to get any more racing here. Lando Norris's car is pretty stranded, and of course, all cars going to go down the pit lane now so that they can get the tractor through. But by the time they've let the laps cars by and everybody's actually caught up to the back of the safety car, I don't think we're going to get any more racing here. Shall we have a little look at what the championship will look like after this race then? Because it is, as I say, a huge swing in the favour of Oscar Piastri in all of this. As much as a 4th place finish might not feel like a lot, 12 points gained where your teammate gains 0 could be substantial by the end of the season. It's going to be a 22 gap between Piastri and Norris, elongating from 10 to 22. Piastri is going to have the lead of the championship. Max Verstappen also gaining 18 points. Gained 6 on Piastri at the top of the championship. Still not out of it, Max Verstappen. Still not out of it, in my opinion. If there's one driver that I would trust to be able to do something a little bit special, it is Max Verstappen. Verstappen just not very happy with George Russell. Shock behind the safety car. George Russell gets himself 25 points. That would put him on 136 for the season. So George Russell, I think, within touching distance of Verstappen, but I would not say within a... Russell, Verstappen just overtook me under the safety car. Is George Russell going to try and get Max Verstappen a little penalty here of nowhere? Safety car still running. We will, of course, lead into the end of this race, but we are not going to get any more racing laps. We are not going to see an Abu Dhabi style finish to this one. I think we are going to finish under the safety car as we should. The safety car coming into the pits once again. And we'll start the final lap of the race. Lando Norris's car being removed from the end of the pit straight. And it means that Antonelli is going to gain 15 points. Finally get himself a little bit of breathing room to Alex Albon behind. Weren't expecting to say that between the two at the beginning of the season. But Albon 42 points. Antonelli up to 63. Will be able to breathe a little sigh of relief. Esteban Ocon will get himself back up ahead of Isaac Hadjar, 22 points to 21. Very tight between the two Frenchmen. Nico Hülkenberg, another 4 points, would put him on 20. And a lovely little pack of Ocon, Hadjar, Hülkenberg developing there. Carlos Sainz in the final point scoring position, up to 13 points in 13th place. Fernando Alonso, 2 points scoring finishes in a row, would put him ahead of Behrman and Lawson. So up into 16th place, Fernando Alonso, from the depths of despair, up into 16th spot. McLaren still lead the constructors, of course. Mercedes would actually jump Ferrari once again. So a little back and forth between them for second place, isn't it? I think Mercedes and Ferrari, that's going to just continue to go on throughout the season. Red Bull Racing finally drop into fourth and just feels like they're going to stay there because they've only got one car in a lot of these races. Williams finding themselves in a comfortable fifth. Haas will actually jump back up into sixth spot. Will be on even points with the Racing Bulls setup. Aston Martin up into eighth place. 22 points. Sauber will drop down to ninth, and Alpine still the slowest team on the grid as it stands in the championship. But let's go back to the race as we are looking at the safety car coming home to win the Canadian Grand Prix. It is going to be the Mercedes-powered safety car, followed by the Mercedes-powered George Russell to win the Canadian Grand Prix. His first race victory of the season and a well-deserved victory as well. George Russell, a stunning qualifying lap from him. And now another Grand Prix victory for him. Max Verstappen is going to settle for second. Kimi Antonelli gets his first podium place. What a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. If you are a Kimi Antonelli fan, Mercedes, 2 podium finishers, Verstappen on the podium, and Piastri, that championship swing, 12 points gained, Lando Norris out. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton finished 5th and 6th, Fernando Alonso 7th, Hülkenberg in 8th, Ocon in 9th, and Carlos Sainz in 10th. It is another stunning Canadian Grand Prix. I really enjoyed that. We're going to delve into a little bit more of the details in about 5 minutes' time. If you are a member of the channel, there is a post-race members show. If you're not a member of the channel, sign up now. Join us for the post-race show. A lot to break down there. We'll, of course, discuss the McLaren battle, but we'll also discuss what does this mean for the rest of the season. Is this Mercedes jumping into the battle? Is this Verstappen continuing to be within title reach? And how can Ferrari throw away more points? They are just absolutely collapsing once again. Ferrari look nowhere, don't they? Alonso, Hülkenberg, Ocon, and Sainz, the winners from the midfield. As I said, thank you guys so much for joining me. Leave like, subscribe. This is the final show that we're going to do from this office. It feels dramatic, feels like we've been here for a very long time. We've done, what, I don't know how many shows from here. Well, all of the shows from this office. And it is going to come to a close. We are swapping places. We'll have a brand new background in a couple of weeks' time for the Austrian Grand Prix. Subscribe so that you don't miss it. I will see members in a few minutes' time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all very, very soon.